Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Sandy?
Aye.
Okay, 400. And I have an issue on grinder pumps. This is from Nazi, 13 Murphy Street.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Chairman, Nazi was the example. I think the issue was that the gentleman, I think it was Upham, wanted to put a wet well or dry well or a sump or a pit and pump a sump pump into it. And I think that was the issue. And I think what I gave you is what we told Nazi related to, and you should have a copy of the policy that we're saying that any of the force mains and gravity mains are below the water table, which they are, then we have to do grinder pumps. So I think that's why it's on the agenda. I don't know if the gentleman that originally was involved is at the meeting. Yeah, Mr. Suey.
Yes.
And then we discussed it with Mr. Cleveland, our engineer, and he had some further comments to make. So I think this is the time to let Russ speak about what his concerns may or may not be as far as doing the sump pump to an outside area.
All right,
to eliminate a grinder pump.
Russ, would you address this for us? Russ, where are you? You're not on.
Now, Steve Suey just sent an email with a picture saying there's absolutely no water where the foundation is. And I thought that we had said that there would be a grinder pump required if it was in the water.
Sandy, let's let Russ explain what's going on.
Sandy, we're talking about the gravity pipe, but Russ will explain.
Guy, let's let Russ discuss this.
Okay.
Russ,
To make a long story short, this sort of a system, what the sewer commission should have in front of them to make a decision is an engineered plan. Something with a stamp on it, I would recommend. I mean, from what I understand from the last meeting that I watched, and Mr. Suey, correct me if I'm wrong, if you shake your head up and down, yes, I can tell if I'm on the right track. But I understand you're looking to put in an infiltration system in the yard that you're going to tie in the roof gutters, and you were proposing to tie in a sump pump to this?
Correct.
My concern, and we know roof gutters and they're tied in all the times to these infiltration systems, but have you done any excavations out there, or is the house currently being built, or is it still in the design phase?
No, we dug the foundation this past week, and it's all fine sand.
Okay.
No sign of water.
How many feet below grade are you for the foundation?
Right now, let me pull up the plan. I think we're at least 6 to 7 feet, but let me pull up the plan real quick.
Okay, but where I was going with this is my concern is that if we put in a system like either the concrete chamber or a Cultec, the plastic system to collect the runoff, there's a potential to mound the groundwater right there. I know you said you went about 6 feet down and you don't see any, but that infiltrating chamber is probably a couple feet high and you need a few feet of cover on top of it. And then the size of the sump pump, I understand it was a 3.5 horsepower pump. My concern is that if you mound that groundwater in front of that yard and it gets up into the infiltrating tank, that the water takes the path of least resistance. So yes, with a pump that powerful pushing it into that, you need quite a good distance between the bottom of that structure and the existing groundwater.
Yeah, and just to be clear, we said we could go up to a 3.5 horsepower pump. We don't care what pump, because as I said, there's no sign of water. So whatever the commission would require would be fine.
And hopefully that's a good sign if it's not there. But if it does come to be a time when groundwater is higher and you are pumping out of the basement and it does get mounded, there's a potential there. It could either, soften the front yard, basically kind of turn it into soup or mush if it gets saturated with water. I don't know if you've ever seen a sports field or an athletic field that's always wet, even during a drought in the summertime. It's because of the saturation. And then also, if that structure has the roof gutters tied into it and the groundwater does get mounded, it's going to push it back up into the roof gutters because that's the path of least resistance. What I would recommend if you have the foundation dug is look at doing a French drain system, which is a perforated pipe around the foundation. Then at my parents' house, it's a common solution to groundwater.
That was our plan.
Yeah, I would, you know, again, I can't make a decision on behalf of the board, but at a minimum, I would recommend looking at a stamped engineered plan that shows all the details about this system, and then make a decision. But I think there's other ways to handle the groundwater there, and one of which is a French drain. There's a lot of good sealers or waterproofing agents you can put inside the foundation. I did that to one of my old houses. If it's just being built now and it's a cast in place foundation, you're pouring it, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, so you can seal the foundation, make it watertight. You know, the sewer pump stations that have a concrete foundation that goes 30 feet into the groundwater table. And if designed properly, they don't leak. So,
Yeah, and again, just to be clear, we weren't concerned of the groundwater or flooding or whatnot here. We were doing this as kind of an alternative to doing a grinder pump.
yeah, and I guess all I would say is that if a precedent has been set in the Swift Beach area for the grinder pumps, you know, the commission, you do kind of have to stick with it because it opens up the door for future opportunities and exceptions. I applaud, you know, Mr. Sui, you're looking at alternative measures to deal with that. But again, it's my opinion, if built correctly, installed correctly, designed properly, that you shouldn't need a sump pump, and that the sump pump would only be needed for spills, things that happen inside of the basement for, you know, the owners that eventually, and that's a real no-no, because if
Correct.
paint spills or something spills in the basement, you do not want that entering either the
Correct.
sewer or the stormwater system.
Yeah. Yeah, correct. And so again, we were planning to do everything that you suggested as far as the French drains and everything. We're just going to put that to a sump pump just in case. Again, it was needed, but then put the sump pump into the dry well again, just to try to avoid doing the grinder pump.
Yeah, it's a tough, but I would, you know, unfortunately, I'd have to recommend to the board that, you know, if to install, as you're mentioning, you know, Mr. Sui, all those things, hopefully that should work. If you find water getting into the basement after this, you know, that's obviously an issue, but if built properly, hopefully we don't have that. And, you know, grinder pumps are not bad things to have in this. I'm sure, you know, someone looks at it as another piece of equipment they have to maintain and operate, winterize, things like that.
Yeah, we have one on one of our other properties, and we've had a number of issues. So that's why we're trying to avoid it.
Well, just make sure they're maintained is all I can say. If it's an E1 system like that, you know, you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. But I'll leave it at that to the commission. You know, I'd be still a little weary approving a sump pump, knowing that that's an ongoing issue, and what sort of perception that would receive later on down the line from other applicants, things like that. If we are going to entertain some type of infiltration system, I'd say that you'd want to have a stamped engineer plan showing the details with it. That's all.
Okay, thank you, Russ. Steve, you have any comments on that?
Yeah, I would just say I'd have no problem doing a stamped engineered plan. I just don't want to go through that expense if we're still going to have to do a grinder pump at the end of the day.
And that is I mean, again, I can't say that it's I can't speak for the board and say it's going to be approved, but just from it with you know, obviously being an engineer, I see a number of concerns that I would have designing it. I'm not saying it can't be dealt with or it can't be designed properly, but I get it. You don't want to spend more money on it, but you know, think of it this way: the housing market's at an all-time high. Property selling for top.
No, we actually just did one down the street, and a grinder pump wasn't required on that one. That's probably 20 feet lower than this one.
Okay, well, I'll step back. If there's a regulation in place, it should be on it. Let's just leave it at that.
I believe the one down the street was already connected to sewer. They just changed it.
Correct.
It was already connected.
Correct. It was a tear down. Correct.
That's right. So it was already, we're talking about a brand new construction. And again, engineered the plans will talk about the separation between your building, the property lines, both sides, and right in your front yard is a sewer manhole and the separation. So when a dry season, so you won't need a sump pump. When we become in a wet season, all bets are off. And if it does pump, I don't want to impact the neighbors or my sewer system where the manhole is. That's all. And so, again, you're right. Right now, it's dry as dry can be. And everybody's crying about water. So it's really the worst time to do any type of, if you will, if I do a septic system, it'd be the worst time to do a test pit because you're not going to find water in Swiss Beach 10 feet. But historically, groundwater in Swiss Beach generally is 4 to 6 feet. I can take you on the other side of Swiss Beach Road and see a ton of sump pumps that are very active that we're dealing with. Right now it's nice because we can see it in the floor of the plant. It's pretty steady. I haven't seen the peaks that I do during rainstorms, but the ground's totally dry and it's not saturated yet. In past years,
Yeah,
we've
I
seen-
used to live right down the street from this house, and
yeah,
yeah.
it's
so I'm
crazy.
familiar with it.
It'd be crazy. So that's all I'm saying. It's a caution. We approved the plan for engineering because we're going to put grinder pumps on Wankinko, Barnes, Murphy. All those houses are going to get grinder pumps because of the sump pump issue with the rain and the water table, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So we're going to do a project there, and we made, and I thought we talked about going forward that we do nothing but grinder pumps in that area because of the infiltration that's really rocking the
Right.
plant. That's all.
Our
all I got to
intent
say.
was to elevate everything that we're putting in, correct?
Yes, and I mean that's all I got to say.
And I thought we were in agreement on that. So.
We were.
Are you requiring grinder pumps on existing homes going forward, or
Well,
Going forward,
any new construction going forward, which
so
you're
just
in the
new
middle of.
construction?
But
Yeah.
I'm also going back because we tried to repair some piping on Wankinko, Barnes, Bayview, and all that, and some pumps ran like crazy, destroyed a job because you couldn't shut some pumps off. And so we know that some pumps are a major issue. And so we got to go back. We can't repair the pipe, or we can repair the pipe at millions of dollars. So we're balancing out, and why we're doing surveys, because we believe that the cost of grinder pumps, which will get rid of some pumps, and the cost of just putting a new pipe and continue some pumps, it just doesn't weigh out. So we're going to go back, and grinder pumps are going to be putting all those homes there. Yes, we haven't worked out the details, but that's the goal. Grinder
Okay.
pumps. That's what we're doing because of the problem in Swiss Beach of a ton of water in those pipes are coming at us. For every 1 inch, we see 150,000 gallons of water coming to the plant. That's groundwater. Every inch of rain in Swiss Beach. So it is a problem. We're just trying to figure it out. That's why.
Yeah. Agreed.
Have you dug down, Mr. Seward, to see what the, to see how deep water is below your excavation, just out of a curiosity, or have you not explored that?
Well, we were going to do that actually. Our site guy was going to dig a test pit and called Guy, but Guy said that he was all set, so he didn't end up doing it. We have an older one that I forget how many years ago that was, but it was a while ago.
Yeah. And that's what I said. I said to Mr. Andre that we were going to discuss at this meeting, and we talked to our engineer, so I wouldn't look at anything until after we had this discussion this evening. That was the goal, because I wanted Russ to weigh in.
okay. Any comments,
I
members?
guess the final, if you do, I know, Mr. Suey, that getting an engineered plan is an expense, but then, if it does get approved and that's engineer stamp and it malfunctions, that's the money. That's why you pay so much money for an engineer. It's their liability when they put a stamp on it. If it's built exactly as it's designed and it malfunctions, the engineer is liable. That's again, the expense. So, I would just recommend to the board that with to look at, and I can't tell you that, yes, it's going to be approved if you have a stamp plan, or no, it's not going to be. We just can't issue that determination. But I would think that the board to the board that you want to look at a stamp plan.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, go ahead, Donna.
we've all been dealing with these problems, for a long length of time, and we all agreed, every one of us agreed that we would have to use grinder pumps. And I think to vary away from that in the policy that we've established, I mean, what's the sense in setting up a policy if we're not going to follow through on it? And we listened to engineers, we listened to our superintendent, and I really have a problem doing this without a grinder pump.
Matt,
And
any
I don't want him to go ahead and spend an engineer's report, and then we're going to turn around and say, hey, look, you've got to do the grinder pump anyways. So that's just my opinion. I'm not looking to wave away from the policy. At this point in time, things are so tough, and we've got so much experience down there. I really do believe that we should go with the grinder pumps. That's my opinion based on the experts.
Mac, any input?
The original mistake was putting gravity pipes deep in a high water table. And we're trying to work away from that, and that's where we should be going.
Okay, Sandy, are you with us? Sandy?
I
Yeah,
didn't, sorry, I'm cutting out. What was the question?
I just wondered if you had any comments to make relative to Mr. Sui's situation on the grinder pump.
I thought we said no grinders. We would have grinders if the sewer lines would be in water. Is that what we voted on?
Below the water table.
Below the water table, right?
If it was below the water table, we would require pumps. Is this installation above the water table?
I can't answer that. Mr. Sui is the installation above the water table.
As it currently
If
sits,
it's
yes.
above the water table, then they don't need grinder pumps.
Well, it's a dry season, so that water table fluctuates, I guess, is the moral of the story, even though it's dry now.
Absolutely. And in this situation, because it's dry, the Board of Health, if doing a septic system, wouldn't use the water table. They would use soil evaluation to establish the water table normally. So when you have a dry season, you never do a test pit in the dry season because you're not going to find water. You got to find during the wet season because that's the reality of what's really happening there. So my concern is that we make a decision on the dry season when it's really dry out there. Then when it gets wet, we have a problem, or not a problem in his sense because some people work hard, but in our sense because it may impact the neighbors or even us because we have a manhole in front. So to be real, if you really want to go by the water table, then Sandy, I would suggest we do it in the wet season or have a soil evaluation to determine where that really truly is during the wet season, because that's a true test.
Well, if the water table could not be determined, why did we include it in our motion?
Because we know the water table, we have a well out there and we did a lot of work out there historically. The water table is 4 to 6 feet throughout Swiss Beach. And that's why, personally, I talked to Ken and I said there should be no more building period allowed in Swiss Beach. But of course, that wouldn't go over because people have money invested. Because the whole area is, every sewer pipe in that area is in trouble and giving us a lot of groundwater, tons of groundwater. And so that area is problematic.
Why can't we determine the water table for this project if you're saying everything in Swiss Beach, you know what the water table is? Why is this different?
Because the water table can't be established in a dry season. And for the last year and a half, we've had very little rain and we're in a drought still. And so the water is down everywhere. And so to answer your question, if you're doing a septic system that requires soil evaluation. And so, that's all I'm saying. And we know historically the water table is between 4 and 6 feet. Right now it's dry, it's a little lower, so we're not seeing it. We haven't established an actual water table because we didn't dig below the foundation, which is 6 feet. Our pipe is like 7 feet down or 7.5 feet. So what we're talking about is if our sewer main is in the water table, that's the criteria that we're talking about grinder pumps, because if we got to go down to it with the sewer, if you will, the connection. And then that you get water from the water main and up the sewer connection, it'll leak into our system. And so we said grinder pumps would eliminate that. We're hoping it would eliminate that for the most part. So that was the goal. And the other goal is because to a grinder pump, you can't connect a sump pump. So that would get rid of sump pumps, because one of the drives we had is how do we get rid of sump pumps? Telling people to get rid of them doesn't work. Begging them doesn't work. We know that people aren't getting rid of sump pumps, and this was a solution to the problem. So it's a high water table area. If we put grinder pumps, then we know sump pumps aren't going to happen because the grinder pump cannot handle sump pumps. So that was the impetus of the whole debate we had months ago, and that's why we come to the conclusion we did.
Okay. Where do we want to go from here? Are we requiring the sump pumps? I certainly don't want to inflict engineering fees on him if it's not going to be something that will pan out in his favor. If we're going to maintain our position of grinder pumps required down there, then that may be it.
Why take a stand and make a policy if you're not gonna follow through with it. And we all know that it is a dry season. We have to look at the norm, not the, this drought is not normal for this area. We know it's gonna be wet. My opinion.
Okay, Donna, Mac,
I don't think it's a deal breaker for Steve. I think we need to be consistent.
Sandy? Sandy, are you still with us?
What?
I think she cut, yeah, she's got a connection issue.
Okay,
I'm really cutting in and out, so I'm hearing half of the conversation.
I was, but the basically looked at if you have any comments regarding the policy versus Steve's situation. I'm suggesting I
You
don't
may,
want
for all
to,
intents and purposes, call me not present because I cannot comment on something I'm not hearing all the discussions on.
okay,
So I will not be voting on anything because I can't hear it.
okay. All right, do I have a decision here? Steve, it doesn't look like it's going to be in your favor.
Yeah, no, I understand. And honestly, knowing that, the plan is to get everybody on a grinder pump, it makes more sense. As I talked last time, it didn't make sense to me that you tie just a few of the new constructions, that there's not that many going on, and putting the burden just on the new construction. So
No, it's not.
Steve,
makes more sense.
The
We'd like
mistake
that-
was
we'd like
made,
to get the
mistake
entire
was made
area.
back in the 70s when they designed the
Agreed.
system.
Agreed.
And I don't know what to do, being proactive in trying to correct the mistake, other than let's move forward with bringing the pipes up out of the water table. We've discussed it at length in the past, so. And you know what? I think eventually we had talked about when we do, if we have to do replacements, we're gonna elevate all those mains.
Yeah.
And so, you know
Makes
what?
sense.
That's gonna encompass everybody.
Yeah.
But that's the
Makes a
cost
lot
of
more
living,
sense.
that's the cost of living in or close to the coastal zone.
And Mr. Chairman, all the
Yes.
new projects we're moving forward with to add sewer to houses that have septic, they're all going to be grinder pumps because grinder pumps eliminate infiltration and inflow. And because everything is one piece, and that's the direction we're heading because we are a coastal community and the water table can fluctuate and it creates a whole lot of havoc for the sewer system. So that's all new. We're thinking of, let's say West Wareham, we're going to do some sewer out there. That's going to be grinder pumps. That's the concept and that's what we're working to. And everything we design, we're including grinder pumps because everything can be 4 feet in the ground. So it's higher. It's all solid, less joints, all that good stuff. So that's the direction because I&I is a tremendous cost to treat it, a tremendous cost. And it's Rob's capacity. So we come into a standstill in the town because we got to account for 400,000 gallons of I&I and we can't give that capacity away. So it hinders growth generally for the town, and we got to do something because this town is growing rapidly, and I don't want sewer will be a nemesis or a roadblock to that. So that's the reason. So again, Steve, we're not picking on you, and I want to assure you that it's just
No,
part of a
not
big
at
picture.
all. No, I greatly appreciate the time, and like I said, it makes a lot more sense looking at the big picture of it. So
Yeah.
I'm good with it.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Steve.
We
you.
appreciate that, Steve.
Thank
Definitely,
you.
We certainly do.
and appreciate your being here.
Thank you. Again, I
Thank you.
appreciate the time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay, the next fish in the barrel. Ken Buckland. Ken, you want to get your sound on?
Is Ken here? Oh, Jake, is this
Yeah,
Ken?
he's here.
This Ken?
Ken's there. Hey, there's Ken. He bounced up. Oh, you sound
there,
on.
guys.
Ken. Whoop, he disappeared again. There you are. We're out
I
there.
guess everybody's been bugging me to put.
Okay.
Also with me is Jason Panone and Don Huggins, who are the developers of that we're introducing to you.
Okay. You got the floor.
Well, I appreciate
right.
your time,
So-
everyone. Ken had set the meeting up, as you know, to kind of introduce us and our team and what we're looking to do at the Tremont Nail Factory, and we appreciate the opportunity. We've sat in front of the selectmen and spoken with a few other committees, and basically wanted to kind of give the overview of what we're looking to do and introduce ourselves. And I think the next step after this is we start to work with the town and iron out the details. But giving a brief 70-foot overview is, I believe, what the goal is tonight. Correct, Ken?
That's right. Just to give a little background on this, back in 2007, the town bought the Tremont Nail Factory, thinking it was a good idea. It's been a while since anything's happened on there. We've finally got a developer for the site, and this was done through the redevelopment authority. The selectmen are in charge of the Tremont Nail Factory, so we go to them for approval of everything that happens there. But with an RFP, we received a great proposal from the Bentley companies, and we're right now in the middle of negotiating the land disposition agreement that's going to set the process for redevelopment of the site. Most of the buildings are going to remain as is on there. There's going to be some site improvements with this with the development on this site, but the program, the uses that are included in there are still to be negotiated, and so we're in a little bit of an early stage here. But I thought it was important to get to the sewer commission, since this is connected to the town sewer through a pump station on the site and a force main. So we see where we are with the sewers, and because this is an important part of the infrastructure to the property, and makes all the difference in how this operates. So I'd like to have Jason continue, and if you have any questions about the concept plan, we can send you the copy of the proposal that they submitted to the town, to the redevelopment authority.
Okay.
Sure thing. Thank you. I can actually, if you'd like, I can share the screen and go over the layout if the board would like.
Why don't you? I don't think anybody has a real good idea or any idea what's going on down there right at the moment.
Sure. Let's see. Oh boy, now I have to make this happen. All right.
It's all magic for me.
I'm wondering if the host has to allow you to share. Does it say there on your
Nope. I think I
share
think I
screen?
may have it. Can you
You have
guys
share
see
screen?
the conceptual
Okay.
layout here?
I do.
Yeah,
Oh, you got
sure.
that?
Great.
Oh, all right.
So as everybody's aware of the facility there, we're pretty excited about the opportunity. There's a few existing buildings that we'd like to take advantage of, not only the views, but the history of the property and the project. What we wanted to do is try and create a mixed-use development to start to bring commerce and traffic back to the nail factory and utilize what is there. And structurally, one of the things that we do have to work on next is, once everything is ironed out between the town, we will then bring in our civil engineer, structural engineer, to start to really fine tune and iron out the buildings themselves, what can be reused, what needs to be rehabbed, and how to go about it. But the intent of the RFP was to try and figure out what the vision was that we could bring to the property, and how to get to the next step with that. So what we were hoping to do in our vision, as you can see the existing layouts, for the most part, we will start to work on which buildings will stay and which ones will go. But for the most part, we're going to be reusing everything there. Building number 1, which is the larger building, we're trying to fine tune how that layout's going to play and what use that will be. However, our vision was that number 5 building here would be utilized as a restaurant to support what we're hoping for is a little bit of an open concept to the community in the warmer months. Now that COVID is hopefully almost behind us, gatherings and concerts of that sort, potentially food trucks will be able to bring commerce to this property. Number 4, as you can see a little further down, was going to be some type of a retail event space that we had hoped to utilize, as well as number 3. Number 7 is the existing warehouse that the town is separately working on a agreement with another entity. And number 9, which we're hoping to utilize as a 2-story building that is not there now. That would be the first new construction building that would be used more for retail and professional use. In speaking with the Historical Commission, number 2 was originally going to be proposed to utilize the history of the property and try and keep the history there with some artifacts and what we could do to preserve that. But they had hoped that they would be able to utilize number 8 as more of a historical building. It would be handled by the Historical Commission and Society. So we're working through those details. So we may change our vision as to number 8 and how we can incorporate and utilize that as more of a historical building, and how it will incorporate whatever artifacts and how just preserve the history of it.
Jason, I wanted to point out that building number 2 is the men's and women's toilets that were built on the site.
Correct. So we also understand there are some as this project progresses, that's when our civil engineer will start to dig into more of the infrastructure, the underground infrastructure related to water and sewer that is currently in place, and any modifications that need to be had to support what the project that we have. We understand there's going to be more flow with building number 5, potentially in restaurant, and really trying to iron out the use of number 1, whether it be potentially more office, retail, or potentially residential apartments. So those are the details that we're trying to work out. But our vision is to try and, like I said, rehab, reutilize a phenomenal piece of property that we feel is really the gateway into Wareham. So we're very excited about the opportunity, and I'm more than happy to open it up to questions on any technical information, the vision, the time frame, the game plan, whatever works for the committee. And I can also, I also have a, did that share? Did that?
Oh, yes. Yes, that came through well.
Yeah, so what we did was we had our architect provide a rendering, 3D rendering, so that, or 2D rather, that you could see, and kind of the vision as you'll see here. This is the new construction, and then all the existing construction being rehabbed and brought up to speed, but trying to keep that historical value and historical outlook of what the property has been over the years.
Shows the road. Are you guys opening the road, getting the road open on Elm Street?
I believe,
flow of traffic.
As of right now, I believe DOT is currently working on the bridge, and there is a game plan with it over the next couple of years to get that open, but that is not part of what we are doing.
Okay.
Smart.
Well, Jimmy, I've lost the visual, but I'm still hearing all the audio, but I've lost your visual.
No, I can see it.
So well, I'm just saying, soon as he went to the his board there, I lost you guys visually.
No.
I like the concept, but I'm not
It is,
planning.
yeah.
This is not planning, this is sewer, but I like the concept because the property's pretty much isolated.
Mhm.
There's no neighborhood to affect. So what are we talking for sewer?
But sewer, it has a small chambered pump station, a couple of pumps. So, I mean, the pumps are in one pump just about works. One is on the way out. It needs rails. It leaks the wet well. So there's a lot there, but I concern myself with capacity. If you're talking apartment buildings, that's certainly the pump station is not going to be able to handle it, especially all the papers that are going to be flushed, non-flushables. But I believe, and as he explained, that in his, civil, when he gets to that point, all that will be addressed. They have a 2-inch force main that may or may not be a limiting factor, but they'll address all that, and we'll have to look at it at that point. I think going on the railroad tracks, there may be a 6-inch sleeve, so it does give you some flexibility if you have to increase the size of that force main. And then the other thing becomes capacity. So yeah, I think it's a great concept. I think it's robust. I think it's ambitious. As an operator of a facility, I worry about beer. I worry about those things because they are detrimental, but that can all be addressed as we move along.
Yeah, well, I like the concept, so.
I like it. I like it.
As long as all the improvements to sewer, well, they'd be with the developer, so.
Right.
Correct.
That's right.
Correct.
That's right.
And I actually, I hope we have capacity for it. I like the concept.
I like it. I like it a lot.
We appreciate that. And I think Ken's intent was to be able to present this a little bit at this point in time so you could get an idea of the vision, knowing that once we start to iron out the details, we'll be back in front of you more as a collaborative effort to figure out what the capacities are and how we can work together to get this project to fruition. And if we have to downscale it a little bit to make things work, how we do that and how it affects the project. So it's, as we presented it from the beginning, we know that the town wanted to really take advantage of this this piece of property, which is phenomenal. And it's not a typical developer coming in saying, this is what we want to do. We're not going to listen. We want to take the collaborative approach on how to work with each department within the town and figure out a way to improve the property, but also turn a non-performing property into a performing property for the town as well. So we're, that is the game plan, and we look forward to furthering our discussions as this the details come about with our consultants and engineers.
What's your time frame, do you believe?
Like everybody says, yesterday, but
Yeah, I get that. That's my favorite line. Absolutely.
So right now we're gonna Ken has been absolutely phenomenal, and we're setting up some more meetings with historical, and then we're gonna come back and we're gonna start to iron out the details with the town on how this is all gonna come together from a fiscal standpoint. So my guess, I mean, Ken, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but maybe within the next month or two, we'll have things finalized so that way we can start to really iron out the details with our A&E team, architectural and engineer team. So my guess is we'll be back to have collaborative conversations maybe the end of the summer, I would think, from a
That's
design perspective, but I can't imagine starting construction, hopefully Q4.
No.
That would be
You
phenomenal.
think it's going to be phased, or you think you're going to do it all at once?
It really depends on my guess is the site work will not be phased, because that's really the infrastructure for the whole project, and we can't really open a restaurant with not improving the underground as well as the hard top. So from your standpoint on the sewer, my guess is it will not be phased. However, it may be phased construction from the standpoint of either vertical or improvements to the building based on how the tenants come in.
So flow may be phased, but the structural and the work you need to do with the site is something you're going to move forward with.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. We don't see any other way of really doing it. As you can imagine, only repairing or upgrading portion of the site and then having to rip it up again to redo another portion is usually not in our best interest.
Not cost effective.
Correct.
Certainly.
Yeah.
Well, I certainly appreciate your vision on this site,
Mhm.
because the other vision was burn it.
No, you don't want to burn it. We're not
So
burning it.
I think you've got it past that stage.
I heard that.
That was my vision. But I like your vision better.
I do too, actually.
Well, yeah, I think it's a good project. Obviously, you're going to be in a better position the sooner you get an idea of what you're going to need for capacity.
Totally agree.
Because, yeah, first come, first served type thing. So I'd be looking at trying to get a grasp on what you're going to need.
I appreciate that.
And get in line.
I appreciate that,
queue.
and we will.
I know it's not easy. I know a little bit about buildings. So,
Yeah, I think so.
yeah, a little.
All right, well, thank you very much for your time.
All right, good
Thank-
luck, guys.
Thank
Thank
you.
I
you
appreciate
again
it,
for being
everybody.
here.
Good
Have a great
idea.
night.
Thank
Good
you,
idea.
And I'll
everyone.
send you a copy of the proposal so you have you can read it through it as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
All right, have a
Thank you,
good evening.
gentlemen.
You too. Thanks again.
Okay, Guy, I know you haven't anything to say tonight, so it's your turn.
I don't really have a report tonight. I think we pretty much discussed what we're doing.
Coward.
Projects are on pace. We're moving along quite well. So I'm pretty excited about that. As you probably aware, we still have an issue with staff. We lose them as fast as we train them. We're fighting with the private companies out there who are scooping up operators and paying them big money. There's more, I think in the past year, there's 10 new ops companies and more come online every day. And so they're out there just eating up operators. So it's been really tough. We lose them rapidly. So we're working through that and we'll see where we go with it. But permits fine. What we're doing, the guys are still doing a great job for the staffing they have. There's been a complaint on Linwood about the property behind the pump station. People are using it as a leave and brush and debris dump. So we're going to clean it up. We're going to fence it in. We're actually going to fence it completely in, put a gate in the front, put an access roads to the back of our pump station, and we'll use it to have the ability to clean up pump station the whole 9 yards. So that's what we're planning on doing with that. That's comes new, but I met with Dave Menard. The letter came from the town administrator's office explaining the problem out there. So that's what we're going to do. There'll be no more dumping of leaves and brush or whatever in that vacant lot there will become utilized. And then we're going to fence in some properties that we had repaired, Smiths and Kendrick, they're not fenced in. And by security measures through the EPA and DEP, we have to fence in all pump stations and treatment plants. So we'll stop moving to get the fence put back up in the way they should be. And we'll look at the ones that are already up that may be rotted and, compromised in certain places. We'll bring that all up to code and par. So that's good. We're replacing the roof on the admin building. I got to tell you, as not being a builder, if we had it looked at, and the guy says, "Oh, you got the metered shingles." Okay, sounds good. He goes, "Oh no, those are lousy shingles." Anyway, so we're going to replace the front with I'll call it the American shingle that gives you the wind, the 40-year protection for a commercial building. The wind and the hurricane, all that good stuff that we didn't get with the metered shingles that were put on when they built the building. So we're moving forward because it's leaking. It's coming into the room and getting on a copier, going to the light fixtures. So we got to move forward and get that done. So that's moving forward. We're also, Wareham is closed. And so we're getting slammed. We're doing 20,000 gallons per day of grease. We're getting slammed with septage. And the plant's going to be the dictator as to where we're going to go with this. But I think we're on pace to do well over $1 million in revenues from those two sources this year. And we're pretty excited about that. So there's a lot happening. The guys are on their toes with short staff, but I got to tell you, the guys are stepping up and they're busting their cookies to get it done. And there's a lot going on. So we're pretty excited about that. That's pretty much it. That's going on with us in the past month, a couple of weeks.
Okay, thank you. Sump Pumps, we just had that semi-discussion. That's still under works.
Wright Pierce, Mr. Chairman, has presented me with, they said there's a grant out there to talk to the Department of Environmental Protection to look at tying sump pumps into the storm system. If we're going to move to the grinder pumps at Swiss Beach and we have pipes left over, they may or may not be acceptable to carry groundwater out to the ocean. We don't know, but they're applying for a grant on our behalf to look at what we can do with sump pumps throughout the community. So I'll keep you informed as we move forward. We did it last year, but we missed the date. And so this year they're starting pretty early, so we don't miss the date. So that's where we are with that. So we're moving that on sump pumps.
That would be a plus. Okay, and we're still in any new connections to the homes on the sewer?
We get a couple. Yeah, they keep coming in. They're dribbling, dribbling in. They're failing, Mr. Chairman. And when they fail, they can't put a septic system.
That's when they get caught.
They have no choice. They have to tie into the sewer. So it's been working out. And people are very cooperative. So we're excited about that. We're excited about that. So I forget the lining we're doing on the force main. We may have an elevation issue, so I talked to Mike, and then he's going to send some surveys out there, and they're going to do the elevation at the air relief valve, and the elevation of the plant to make sure we can get that in. So we're excited about that. So JC's engineer's been good to us and getting a lot done. So that's our newest thing. So if the numbers work for us, then we will line that pipe, get that pipe lined in a very short cost compared to replacing it at 7 million. We should spend 2 million. So that we're wrapping that up too. So we've got a lot going on. All right, that's it. I just crossed. That's it.
Okay.
Apologize.
All right, people, any new business? Anybody have anything they want to add in? Throw out? Okay. Our next meeting is the 27th, 6:30.
All right, I make a motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
I will second that.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you all very much for being here for this.
All right.
Thank
Good
you,
evening.
Russ. Thank you, Guy.
Thank you.
Everybody, thank you. You're welcome. Thank you, guys. Have a nice night.
And
Thank you. Good night.
those of you that are watching, thank you for watching.